Tonight over the next, I think, couple of weeks, and I know that I'm going to be away for some of these, but over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be hitting off a new topic. And tonight, I'm going to be talking of something that's very particular to myself. And it's really easy, isn't it, when, a preacher, you can think, you can preach something and you're going to hit home to everyone else by yourself. Tonight, this is definitely going to hit home to me as well. Without a doubt. And you will completely understand when I start to talk about it. Tonight we're going to be talking on overload. Have any of you worked too much? Yes. Okay. I got a little picture. There's a couple of pictures. There's a first picture of a person on a bike. Now, my bike isn't and wasn't quite like that. However, as a young child, I can remember, I was probably about 13, 14, 15 years of age, delivering newspapers. And my life was completely ran by overloading as many newspaper rounds as I could possibly do. Each newspaper round per week was worth £6. I know it's a lot of money. £6. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, go to work for at least about an hour and a half and deliver 2 newspaper rounds. So I would get £12 on the Saturday. Amazing. I got the art of creeping up to houses where there was big dogs. As any of you know me, I'm not really a great dog lover. I don't enjoy being chased by Dobermans. I don't enjoy those. I don't enjoy jumping over hedges. I don't enjoy thinking, my gosh, am I going to make it in? And I used to play a little game to myself. There was one particular house that you had to go up to I used to ride a bike at the same time, and the newspapers would go over on both sides. And I used to play a little game with myself. Could I get to the front door of the house, going past I had to walk over these yellow chip-ins. Could I make it to the front door of the house without the dog barking? It's funny, at about 6 in the morning, and it's dark, it's winter, you play all different kinds of games for yourself. So that was one of the games I used to play, and in the end I discovered I could do it if I just avoided the stones and walked on the garden. But by that time, I knew that I was going to miss the dog barking, and of course, I'd be upsetting. I felt exactly like this guy in a photo like that. I felt like that. Completely overloaded. And then, of course, the gentleman come and asked me who owned the newspaper shop, and he said, "Pete, you do such a great job on that. Do you want to do the evening?" So at the time where I lived, there was the Argus newspaper, and that was worth £4. Because they were thinner, they were lighter. So I thought, oh, great, I can do that. So not only did I do the newspapers in the morning, I did the newspapers in the evening after school. And of course, I was loaded down. And on some days, I can remember so clearly, oh my goodness, the rain, newspapers just don't go. It's really clear. Trying to mix the two together, it's just not great. And guys, I truly felt like that, running on empty. I've got another picture here of a plug socket. Now, some of you can imagine what that. Here's the thing: there's one 4-way block there, just one. So, by law, just saying, there should be four leads coming from that. We've got a few more than that. Here's the thing. There's only so much power that little plug socket has got. In fact, there's only one little 13-amp fuse that's on the end of one plug that is controlling the 4-way block. Yet for some reason, we think that it will cope with everything that we chuck at it. You getting me? For some reason, we think there's one size pipe coming in, and we think that there's enough power to go to everything. I'm just going to say, guys, there isn't. And for our lives right now, you can only control what you've got, because what you've got is all you got. And you cannot give from empty. You cannot give out for what you don't have. It is impossible. No matter how much you try, all that will end up is you will blow the fuse that is the source in the very beginning, which will normally mean that somewhere down the line, something will go pop within you, and you'll go, I want to go into hibernation mode. I don't want to do anything else. I definitely don't want to plug myself into anything, and I definitely don't want to give anything out. And that's exactly what will happen to you. You will go pop. And here's the thing. The intention is fully that you want to be able to give to all of those things. All of those things are things that are really useful. All of those things need you. Or do they? You think that all of those things need you. And you think that you're Mr. or Mrs. Invincible. The reality is, you're not. And tonight, I'm going to be looking at what this looks like. See, right at the very heading, guys, burnout is only one switch away. And you see, right from what I said to you that I'm talking about myself tonight, because I know fully that overload can be done without even realizing that you are overloading. The intentions are great, but the reality is you can't give out for what you haven't got. And all the things that you end up doing is the thing that you want to support, you haven't got enough attention, enough energy to do it, therefore that thing fails. You end up failing yourself. You think that you're the failure. The reality is you haven't failed because you couldn't do the job. You failed because you give from something that you just simply don't have. You can have all the will in the world to be able to change the world. But if you don't have the means to do it, you're never going to get it done. You're never going to get it done. Overload can come through thoughts. Overload can come through loneliness. Overload can come through debt. Overload can come through commitment. Overload can come through work. Overload can come through just you by saying that I'm busy. You guilty? Anyone guilty of that? I'm busy. Overload. Overload can come by being used. Everyone wants you, and everyone wants to pull you from pillar to post. They all want a bit of you. God, I've heard so many people say, there's only so much of me. True. Very true. How many times have you heard your name before X amount of, there's times that even when I'm teaching in the school, my goodness, I think I've heard my name about 40 times, and it's only 9:30. And you think, I could really do an extra 20 pairs of hands. I can't give any more than I've got, but yet I feel that I should. And all of a sudden, we feel that we're giving on empty, not giving who we should be giving from. And life can become very challenging and very lonely. And it's so, so hard, guys. But tonight I want to talk from a place in the Bible where there was this guy that sometimes people see something in you before you see it yourself. So they say, oh, and it's not nice, you're looking tired. Yes, I am. You're looking like you need a holiday. Yes, I am. You're looking like you need a bit of me time. Yes, I do. And some of those times you need to be open and honest and say, yeah, I do. Yes, I would like. Got any ideas? Because it's at those times, guys, where people say to you, by the way you're looking exhausted, or by the way you're looking shattered, it's very well saying those things, because I can tell you it doesn't make the other person feel totally great. But however, if you say, you may look tired, is there anything I can do for you? Like, can I come and lighten your load in some way? I don't know what I could do, but is there a possibility that I can help out? I don't know what I could do, but is there something? See, I don't know why in church life we've got this opinion, we'll leave it to the pastor because it'll get done. It's true. And later on I'll get to some statistics which will absolutely blow your mind about pastors and mental breakdowns. I'll get there at the end. But I just want tonight to be genuinely open and honest and say, guys, burnout can come, and it is a real thing. Being overloaded in your normal day-to-day lives is a real thing. Asking someone for help needs to be done more. And asking and being willing to say, okay, you look tired, how can I help? Needs to be on the top of our list rather than the bottom. So if you've got your Bibles, I'm going to be talking from the book of Exodus tonight. Exodus 18, and I'm going through, let's have a look. Exodus 18, 13 to 24. 13 to 24. It should be on the screens behind me as well. So Exodus 18, 13 to 24. And it says this: the next day Moses took his seat to serve as a judge for the people. And they stood around him from morning till evening. When his father-in-law saw that all that Moses was doing for all the people, he said, "What is this you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit as judge? Well, all these people standing around you from morning till evening." Moses answered him, because the people come to me to seek God's will. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions. Moses' father-in-law replied, "What you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you, and you cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and his instructions, and show them the way that they are to live and how they are to behave. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judge for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide for themselves. That will make your load lighter, because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God as so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and all these people will go home satisfied." Moses listened to his father-in-law and did everything that he said. I love that. Do you know what? When I was going through this Bible reading, I can honestly say I've heard people preach on that and take it out of context. The context is really simple. This isn't about a person judging someone else. This is about a person that if someone has a dispute with someone else, then therefore Moses would be the person to talk, to intercede between him and God, would gain the answer, and would go back to the parties and saying, "God, guys, I believe God is saying this is what you need to do to sort out this dispute." In all honesty, what a great thing that Moses was doing. Absolutely brilliant. Moses' father-in-law, his name was Jethro. And he was a guy that we don't hear a great deal about him, but you see from this very short passage that he was a guy that was willing, he had some amazing insight into someone's life over a very short space of time. Not just having insight, was willing to give his thoughts and was also willing to give advice into a situation that could become quite negative. See, when a person is doing so much, you don't see it for yourself that you're overloading. You don't. It takes someone else to oversee, to look from a different perspective, to go, if you carry on this route, the way that you're going, you will burn out. It's funny, you see, you need to see from a different perspective sometimes. And sometimes, yes, we've spoken on over the past of you can be traveling on distance, going to various places, and sometimes you can climb to the top of a mountain, look down, and the cars just seem like little ants. The houses seem really small, and yet you have a bigger perspective of what life looks like. And in fact, you can look down from a mountain. There's a place in Pontypool that you can look down and you can see right the way all the way to Newport. And as you look across, you could see roundabout after roundabout after roundabout after roundabout. And you think, you don't realize how many roundabouts there are until you look down and you think, my goodness, in such a short space of time, you're going past maybe 9, 10 roundabouts to get to where you need to get to. I think actually Cumbraland's got more roundabouts than anywhere else in the UK. Is that right? Yes, it is. Yeah. Just some useless information for you. But when you look down over the top, you see something that you would not see if you were at eye level. You just wouldn't see it. And if there was a way to avoid stuff, you would avoid it. As we're driving, I think I told you last week, we were going on holiday, and I was given an option on SatNav. Do I want to take a different route? There's a road blockage ahead, and I said yes to the instruction that was given me. And of course, it was a bit quicker, but in the end, the end result was I ended up joining the road, which was already blocked in any case. See, I opted to take a different route. I couldn't see the route ahead, but SatNav could. But even though SatNav could see it, they still didn't tell me, by the way, you're still going to be joining the road, which is already going to be blocked. Had I known that, I possibly wouldn't have made those choices to turn off. So tonight we're going to be looking at about a couple of points. A couple of points that we're going to go through. I'm not going to tell you how many because you'll just tune out. So number one. I believe that we can have a heart for serving. Having a heart for serving is got to be such a key factor. See, Moses knew that he had to listen to the call of God on his life. So personally, for Moses knew that he had to listen to the voice of God and he had to serve. Now, Moses was a particularly gifted guy, I will say that. And, Moses led the people from a little bit of a difficult situation. And he led them through and gave them a new opportunity. He was a good guy, to be fair. He was a man that was incredibly gifted. A guy that was willing to stand up and to fight for the people. So really clear that this guy, Moses, was a guy that could take an awful lot on. He led thousands of people. I think that's pretty cool. He led thousands of people, and he was willing to do that, and he did that. However, somebody else then came in and could see that there was something which was very different, which we'll get there in a minute. But I just love, right from the very beginning, no matter where Moses was, he had a servant heart. Ephesians 6, verse 7, and from the NIV this is, guys. It says, serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people. I think life looks very different when you look at it as if you're serving God, not while you're serving people. See, our level of excellence, all of a sudden, when you say you're serving Jesus and you're doing it directly for him, it's not about having this, I'm going to do it for a person walking around here. You're doing it for Jesus. You should have a different approach. A completely different approach. I know that if I was privileged enough to go to Buckingham Palace and see the King, if I was privileged enough to have a knighthood. By the way, somebody needs to just write a letter in. So, if I was privileged enough for someone to recommend me for a knighthood, that would be lovely. However, I wouldn't turn up there in jeans and a t-shirt. I'm pretty sure dress sense means I'd have to dress a little bit better than just wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I would hire a suit. Yeah, I would. So it would cost me for what, yeah, I would have to do that. Hopefully it wouldn't just be an outside dinner party and just I'd like to be around a table with him, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not fussy. Maybe a nice 3-course meal. If I'm spending a couple of quid on a suit, you do want to get the best out of it, don't you? So I'd like to be able to go there, but I wouldn't turn up in what I was wearing right now. Therefore, if we were serving God, why wouldn't we give God our best? Therefore, I've heard people say, oh, I've had a new 3-piece suite come in for my house. Does the church want my old one? No, but the church will have your new one. It's true. Why would you give God your second best? Why wouldn't you give him your first? And I think we need to get into a mindset, guys, of give God the best, not God the seconds. Because you give God your seconds, you're never going to give him your best, and you're never going to give him all of what you could. It's a different mindset altogether. Give God your best and your best approach. Why? Because you're serving a king, and therefore you wouldn't give him your cast-offs, you give him your best. Point number 2. People can be really concerned. They can. I've often had people say to me, Pete, you look absolutely shattered. Yes, I am. Thank you very much. And this normally happens on a Saturday. Normally. And it's normally when we've been incredibly busy. And people say, you've been really, really tired. God, you look tired. God, what's happened? You've had a rough. Makes you feel really good about yourself, by the way. And I say, yeah, it's been a busy day. It's been a busy day. But the reality is there are things in life that you can control, and there's things in life that you can't. There's things in life that you can look at and think, I can put things in place to help me, and there's things that I can't. One thing I wish I could control is the weather. Amen. To have a little bit of precipitation at specific times through the year, just so you can schedule more staff in, that would be really good. Honestly, so helpful. But that doesn't happen. And sometimes it catches you unawares. And sometimes in life you have something called, what I would call, pinch points. You go through life and you can feel really pressured and like life is squeezing you because it's just the way that it's gone right then. It doesn't mean it's going to last. It's a really short space of time, but somehow you've got to get through it. And when you get through it and you go past it, you go, oh, that was challenging. Don't really want to go through that again like that, but I'd come through it. And I think for some of us, we need to get to a place where we understand the seasons that we go through, that they're not there forever in a day, and they are short bursts, and they are pinch points, and they do hurt, but yet you will come out of them. The rain will not last forever. However, I do know, no, amen, but I do know that people's concern can be there always. Do you get me? Okay, I'm going to take this down a bit more because I can see people going, what does he mean? Luke 10, verse 38 to 42. Luke 10, 38 to 42 says this. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by a big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about, and Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. Notice this, okay? I'm just going to repeat that again. Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. Guys, I get the understanding that hospitality is awesome here and that Martha is trying to do the right thing. There's no doubt about that. However, in amongst all this lovely food that was being cooked, she was like, hang on, how is Mary able to spend time with Jesus? How is Mary able to be in his presence doing this while I'm the one who's slaving over the stove? So in her frustration, she goes, hang on, can you tell her to pull her finger out and to do her work with me? It's true. Almost saying, come on, what's going on? It's not fair. I'm doing all the work, and someone else is going to benefit from it. And by the way, you get to speak to Jesus. Well, I'm the one who's stirring the pot. And of course, Jesus replied. The Lord said to him, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about, and Mary has discovered it. What did Mary discover? Mary discovered that spending time with Jesus was more important than cooking tea. No, I'm pretty sure that the food afterwards and spending time with Jesus would have been pretty awesome. There is no doubt that would have been awesome. But how easy is it for us to moan and complain that someone else gets to do something or be with someone else? That's not fair. They get to do that. Why am I doing that? And really, all she was doing was having a servant heart, trying to prepare food, but yet she wanted to turn that into something negative when someone else was being blessed. Notice, guys, someone else was receiving some amazing blessings from God, and yet another person was moaning. Do we do that? That's not fair. How is it? That's not right. I want to do that job. And all of a sudden we can kick off. And it's so true, we can. But guys, we need to have a heart that just wants to be and to see Jesus, to serve Jesus. Number 3. We need to listen to wise counsel. That's hard. See, Let me tell you a true story. Both myself and Adele had just got married. And we were serving, this was a few years ago. And this was a few years ago. We just got married. 22? Feels way more than that. So 22 years, we just got married, and we was in, I can remember really clearly, we were at the Rock Church. And it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday after we come back from our honeymoon, and my thumb was then better. After it was chopped off, put back on, sewn back on, we'll go through that, we've done that. So it was at a place where I was feeling much better, and I was ready to play the drums. I'll never, ever forget this. Ambrose, so I got up, and I left Adele in the Rock, and I went over behind the drums, and at the time, the pastor, Ambrose Lloyd, walked over to me. He said, good morning, Pete. I said, good morning, Ambrose. He said, what do you think you're doing? I said, I'm going to go and play the drums. He went, no, you're not. I said, yeah, no, I am. I said, I'm on the worship team. He went, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, I haven't done anything wrong. I'm pretty sure it's been okay. There's no reason why I should be kicked off team. Genuinely, I thought, what have I done here? And he said, no, you're not going to play drums. In fact, you're going to be off drums for 9 months. And I said, what? Why? And he said, because the most important thing for you right now is you just got married and you need to be by the side of your wife. And he said, you need to learn to serve each other first, and then you can serve God. And I can remember going through that process and feeling, oh my goodness, the first week I was so angry. In fact, that anger possibly stayed for about 6 weeks. I can remember I was going, good morning, Pete. Good morning. And I really was like, oh, I can't believe this. And by the way, there was no one else playing, mind. The drum kit was there. There was no one else playing. The music was going along, and it was great. I was thinking, it sounds rubbish without drums. No offense. It sounds rubbish without drums. And I was thinking, what's wrong? Can't believe this. And over time, I got to love being in the place that I was. And by the end of the time the 9 months was up, when Ambrose said, Pete, you can go back on the drums, I said, I don't really want to. See, my mindset had changed. The thing that I thought was important to me, the thing that I thought was the number one thing, which was drums in my life, and it was, true. My priorities had shifted, and my life the things that I valued in my life had shifted. But it took somebody else to say, you need to change your stance on something. Change your thoughts. And unless somebody else had intervened, I would have still been in that mindset right now. I had to be willing to give up something I love for something else. Which I did. And that then turned into something beautiful, because now, when somebody else plays the drums, no matter what it is, no matter where it is, I love it. I'm not het up about the position being on drums. I'm not het up about being in position. I'm not het up about being the person that I have to be because of there's no one else doing it. I don't even feel that pressure anymore. Why? Because that's been broken years ago. And in fact, as I've said many times, I'm now in a place where my son is a better drummer than me. Of course, he gets paid for it. It's a job. And life is very different. And I look at that and go, that's amazing. And I look at other people that are coming through now going, it's amazing. And we need to be encouraging the next generation of people to come through, not holding on to the job that you have because it's the only one that you do, but yet you should be passing on your knowledge down to the next person saying, come on, let me come alongside you. Let me walk alongside you. And you can take this off because I'm not holding on to it really tightly. I want you to be blessed through what you do. Guys, you've got to be willing to love something enough to give it away. And if you hold something so tightly, it'll fall through your fingers in any case. If you try to cup a load of sand on the beach and you hold it tight, it will fall through your fingers. If you cup it gently and hold it gently, you'll retain it for as long as you want to. And in life, we need to do that. Hold what you've got loosely because it's a gift from God. And be willing to always give it away and to encourage someone else to pick it up. And if you're not willing to do that, you're not willing to invest. If you're not willing to invest, what heart have you got? Because Jesus has given you the heart to be able to want to serve alongside others, to help people grow, to develop people, and to see someone else flourish because God's going through you. Remember, you should be like a funnel allowing the Holy Spirit to go through you, out of you. Give out what you've got, and God will renew you every day with something brand new. It may not look like the old stuff, but it will look brand new. It may not be the old stuff, but it will be brand new. And that person that you may be bringing on may be much better than you. And that may really grind your boat. True? Better than me. They're better at me on guitar. They're better than me on drums. They're better at me at preaching. That's not hard. But it could be whatever that is. And for some of us, we could be offended by that. I'm not. I'm encouraged. Because unless we build and equip and release, we're never going to flourish ourselves. Never going to flourish. So, verse 3 was listen to counsel. Number 3 was listen to counsel. Exodus 18, verse 17. Which was Moses' father-in-law replied, what you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice. I love that. I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. So there's not advice given just like bomb, drop. This is advice given, and may God seal it on your heart. So listen to wise counsel. Jethro was Moses' father-in-law, and he could see exactly what was happening and what could happen to Moses. He knew if he carried on going down this route, this path would end up in destruction, would wear him out, and something in his life would drastically change. See, guys, it's so important that when someone says something, you don't come from it from a voice of being dictatorial and pointing your finger, but from a grace point of view that you say, I want to come alongside and help. I can actually see that you're doing some stuff that you're going to burn yourself out, or that's even wrong. And if you want to be a better person at this, then you need to do this, and this. Slowly put it in place. Don't try to do everything at once because you're never going to do it and you'll burn yourself out. Pick one thing. I've got a little motto in my life, keep the main thing the main thing. And have everything else flourishing from that. If something comes from that for some reason doesn't fit the bag, but yet over time it seems to grow and seems to develop, I need you to look at it and go, actually that's sucking too much of my time, I need to cut it off. And when you cut that thing off that's sucking the life out of you, you're able to put that energy into something else. Just like a tree, a flower, a pruning, whatever that is, if you've got something that you want to flourish in a certain way and you cut off, areas, all of a sudden, you'll see other areas, growth will happen. Buds will appear in other areas. Why? Because you've cut off something that's been sucking the life out of you. That's really hard. And those times are costly. Some years back, I went through a phase where we'd invested a lot of some money into a new project. And we'd built something up, and we'd done something, built rooms, and we'd invested time, money, etc. into something. And we came to a place, and we just said, this is not working. So we said, okay, we'll just stop it. We'll cut it off. The reality is, we'd wasted all that time. We'd wasted all that money. We'd gone down a road that we thought was right, but then it ended up being the wrong thing. And if I'd continued to go down that path, I would have been kicking the bucket, the empty bucket down the road, and all it would have been doing is wearing me out. But by me cutting it off, I was able to put my thoughts and who I was into other areas. And throughout that, God allowed other areas to flourish in me. But I had to be willing to cut some stuff off. And tonight, guys, I really believe that God's going, we need to lighten our load. Cut some stuff off that is causing you distraction. Being negative on your life. Cut some stuff off that is pulling you down, and focus upon something that will give you growth. Focus upon something that will give you life. And focus on something that will continually enable you to be the best person you can be. So number 4, and I'm going to come into land with this. I won't be too much longer. Number 4, strong leadership falls and grows on delegation. Strong leadership will fall and grow on strong leadership. Look at these words here from that verse. You must be the people representing before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and instructions and show them the way that they are to live and how they are to behave. But select capable men from all the people. I'll just say that. Select capable men and women from all the people. Men and women who fear God. Trustworthy men and women who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, and fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. Without that delegation, Moses' commitment would have never have grown and developed the way that it had. His team around him flourished. His team around him were able to do things that they never thought they could do. His team around him looked after the thousands, the hundreds, the fifties. And I wanted to be really clear about this. For some of us, 10 people is enough for us. For some people, 50 people is enough for us. For others, 100 people is enough for us. It doesn't mean that you're weaker because you do less. It just means that's the way that God's made you. And you are performing at your best when you serve people for those particular amounts of numbers. Hence why you've got some people that have multi-million-pound companies all around the world because they're able to cope with large capacities. Amazing, great for them. That's their capacity that they can hold for themselves. For other people, they may have a shop by themselves that is maybe 2 or 3 people. That doesn't make them any less a business person than the one up here. It just means that their capacity is different to the other one. So for instance, if a person is serving in one capacity, it doesn't mean that they're anything less than someone else. A person serving on a door, welcoming someone, is no different to a person that is up here preaching, or a person that is cleaning the toilets, or a person that is on the coffee shop, or a person that stacks the chairs. There is no difference in hierarchy. If you're serving God, you're serving God. Guys, understand this. Because if we understand that all of us have got different levels of capacity within us, it doesn't make us weaker. It doesn't make us stronger. We are who we are, and that's who God has made us. So therefore, if you're absolutely great at doing the chairs, then please stick to doing the chairs. Please, for 1 minute, don't look at something else and think, oh, I want to go and do something else because I think I can do it. But yet, on the one hand, you're absolutely amazing at doing the chairs. Do you see me? However, if a person comes alongside you and says, I've noticed that you're incredible. I think Alcy spoke on this last week. There was a guy that we knew that was absolutely incredible about putting chairs out. And he was incredible about putting chairs out. And I can remember he had people that came up to him and said, how do you do what you do? And he said, let me show you. Never once did he say, haha, it's mine. I'll do this myself. And I'm better than everyone. He wasn't like that at all, not for one moment. But yet, he said, oh, come alongside. Come and watch me and see what I do. And I've even seen over a number of weeks and months, he allowed other people to take over from the job that he was doing, and he watched them to keep standards high. The capacity that he had, he changed he was still doing the chairs, but yet he was allowing somebody else to serve and doing it for God in an incredible way. And he was able to keep standards high. Can you see that? What an amazing, amazing thing to do. And we think it's just about chairs. It's not about chairs. It's about the level of service to God and about who you're doing it for. So, I am coming into land with this. I think. I started off by saying that the load that we carry can be huge. And that when we start off, we don't seem to be overloaded, but we get there. Just like I was carrying the newspapers and choosing to do more and more. And I ended up huge. With these bags overside. And you end up thinking to yourself, how do I get there? Especially when the rain comes, the wind comes, your bag blows open, you grab the newspapers that are on the floor that is wet. You go home, and you and your parents are trying to dry the newspapers out on the radiators to put them back together to push them through the door. Been there. Remember that, Dad? Absolutely. Trying to do something yourself will only end up burning you out. Allow others to come alongside you. 91% of pastors have experienced some kind of burnout. 91%. Number 2, 18% are currently burnt out to a crisp. Will never ever step foot back in the platform ever again. 63. 63% quit because of church conflict. Arguments that need not happen. Churches split because of something over something so stupid. And God causes us to serve together, to help people, and to support one another. Not to shoot the bullet at the pastor or anyone else. Yet that's the way that it seems to come. This is scary. 80%, and this is Elim, 80% of Elim ministers quit before 10 years of service. 80%. See, those figures are scary. But those figures are real. Why? Because I don't know why people feel the way that they do to point fingers at me or anyone else. I don't understand. Because right from the very heart comes a heart of serving. Right from the heart. And for every one of us here, the only difference between myself and you is that I've been called to do this job and that you've been called to do something else. The only thing is, my head is above the parapet that people can take good shots. It's true. As they say, I'm a bit of a sitting duck. That's exactly what happens. And see, guys, if God wants to build his church, he's going to do so with a church, with a bride that is ready to come back for him. So when he returns, he wants to see his church in all of its glory, fully blossoming and ready and structured to be ready for his return. That means a church that's not bickering, that's not falling out, that's got no anger issues, that doesn't argue between the two, but yet wants the very best for everyone, wants to serve one another and wants to equip one another, wants to be people that help one another and to develop one another as best as we possibly can. And by the way, I'm not preaching this from a heart that I've been stabbed in. That's not the case. I'm preaching this from a heart that I want every one of us to grow. And we will only grow when we give away. But remember, you can't grow from empty. You can only grow from what you have. So maybe, guys, it's something to look at us. Look at our own lives. Look at what we are doing. Cut off the stuff that is pulling you down. Cut off the stuff that is not from the center of your life. And allow the thing that God has given you, the passion, to flourish and to grow. Because if you don't, this thing down here will suck the life out of you, and the very thing that God's called you to do won't get done because of the thing that's pulled you down. I believe it's time for realigning and focusing and getting our priorities right. And when we do that, we will flourish for him. Don't overload, but focus ourselves on him. Amen.